Hey guys, welcome to my new movie review for Mile 22. Now, before I get into my movie review and my thoughts about this movie, I need to tell you something that I'm kind of a little bit annoyed at myself about, a little bit. I deliberately, intentionally didn't watch this movie in cinema purely because of the fact that all the reviews that came out for it, like all the YouTube reviews and stuff like that, and the guys that I follow on YouTube, every one of them was completely negative. Now, all film is subjective, so I was like, it just really persuaded me to not see it. And everything that I heard word of mouth, like all the critics and stuff, this got a 22% on Rotten Tomato, which is abysmal. Absolutely, it's not abysmal, it's been worse, but that's really, really bad, especially for what this was. So this stars Mark Wahlberg, and it is directed by Peter Berg. And I don't know why in my brain went, I wonder if they're related. I don't. I have no idea why I thought that. Wahlberg, Peter Berg. Just something in my brain went, I wonder if they're brothers. I, yeah, yeah. I did that. I'm just being completely transparent with you about that. So one of the things that I was quite surprised at in this movie was the super cut scenes. Like, it was like this is what it kind of felt like. It felt like they didn't have enough cameras to get every action shot that they possibly could for this movie. So to make up for it, they did the action scene 1,000 times and then had like 3 cameras and then went cut, 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 and just like took it from different angles. And that's what it felt like, especially some of the really heavy action sequences and like the martial arts sequences. And it was literally like, I don't know how to describe it. The best way I can just, that is the best way I can put it to you, is it felt like that it was so fast and so push, 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 that it was almost like, just get more cameras if that's what you're trying to get at. Like, just, I don't know. That's what it felt like. But anyway, Mark Wahlberg's character in this movie, and I completely 100% understand what the critics and viewers of this movie were saying about it, 100%. His character, a lot of times in this movie was actually very, very annoying. He had a rubber band around his wrist. This isn't a spoiler. He had a rubber band around his wrist, and each time he would punish himself, he would flick the rubber band. And like, you could tell it would hurt. It would have hurt. And if it didn't hurt, then that would hurt me. But it to the point where where Peter Berg was trying to really, really get the audience to understand that this is his way of dealing with things, or this is his way of, putting himself back in check and making sure he's a perfectionist and blah, blah, blah. Really early on when he did that, it got really old really fast. And it was like, we get it. We really, really get it. He's trying to discipline himself, and to the point where the director, Peter Berg, literally, I'm just going to do this really quickly, I know it's going to be annoying, but I just want to give you but they literally got like a close-up of him going flick, and I was like, oh, really? You had to go there? Just, yeah, it didn't work for the character at all. It was a really annoying piece, and I completely understand why people thought that was so stupid, because it was. I just want to share a really funny thing, and I don't know why, because I actually believe that John Malkovich, I thought he was like bald. Like, I actually thought he was one of those people that just couldn't grow hair at all, like at a young age or whatever. He has a head. He's maybe it's a wig, but if it's not a wig, then I didn't know he could grow hair. I was really surprised at that. He has hair in this film, like hair, not like hair, but like short, styled cut hair in this film, and I was like, wait, John Malkovich has hair? Wow, I thought he was bald in everything, and I'm pretty sure he is bald in everything that he's in. But yeah, he has hair and a haircut in this film, but it could have been a wig. I'm not too sure. They didn't say it in the trivia or anything like that, so I could be wrong. That's kind of weird though. Even though the cameras, the action sequences throughout this movie were were just so quickly edited. It was so quickly shot, edited. I have to admit, guys, the action sequences in this movie were really on point. I personally, I really enjoyed them. There was not one moment of this movie in the action sequences that I was like bored with, which is, if you're bored in an action sequence in a movie, that's a bad movie, full stop. But I was quite impressed. I genuinely was, guys. There's films that give you action sequences, and for example, like Michael Bay, he just gets right up in the camera and you can't see anything going on. But this wasn't. This was just snapped together real fast, and it wasn't the worst. It was just annoying that you were just like, you didn't need the pacing and the editing to be so quick. Like, I get what they were doing though. They were just trying to make it look as full on as possible, but it did not work. But I can understand why people would be annoyed at those sequences. I found that the technical aspect of this movie, like the movie Drone, if you haven't seen Drone, go and check that out. I really, really, really like the drone aspects of movies. I don't know why, but I just find it fascinating, really fascinating, that you see people literally sitting in a computer chair flying these drones, and all they have to do is squeeze a trigger and the drone literally blows up something massive. And it's like, I just find that really fascinating. I don't know why, I always have. I just find the idea of drones and how they can do so scary, but really, I find that stuff really impressive myself. If you are a person who likes bobbleheads, then you'll really like, I think there's about 3 scenes in this movie that has really fun bobbleheads. I know that's a super random thing to bring up and talk about, but the bobblehead sequence in this movie, I actually really enjoyed. I don't know. It was cute. It was really cute. It was really fun. Now, you don't realise why it's called, and I think this is really bad. I think it's really bad. So this movie only goes for like an hour and a half, but you don't actually find out why it's called Mile 22 until I think it was like almost middle or to the later end of the movie. And when you realise why it's called Mile 22, it's really pathetic. Like, it's like, really? That's why you called it Mile 22? Like, the title of the movie itself, I thought it was quite, I don't know. It's pretty pathetic. You could have called it something else. Like, really, you really could have called it something else. I don't know what, but Mile 22 was like, really? Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's adapted from a book or something. I don't know. Probably, yeah. So this is the 4th, I think I said that at the beginning of this review, the 4th movie that Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg have worked together. So they did Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day, and now Mile 22. Now, if you haven't seen Lone Survivor, Patriots Day, or Deepwater Horizon, I 100% recommend those movies. Those movies are brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. Seriously, every one of those movies I loved. I love. And maybe I'll do a review on them one day. So if Peter Berg's name rings a bell, that's because he's an actor as well. And he does, and I love, this is a good tie-in to my next thing that I was going to say. This is a great segue. I absolutely love when directors do cameos in their own movies. And you actually see them act it. I really, personally, I love it. I kind of wish that Steven Spielberg would do that in his movies, because I just personally, that's my cup of tea. I really appreciate when a director has just, not even if they say anything, but when they literally just are there and you visually see them, because personally I really like to see, I want to see what the director looked like in his own movies. Anyway, in this movie, one of the characters is doing a phone, like a phone. She's talking on a phone, and she can, like Skype or FaceTime, whatever you want to call it. Her ex-husband is on the other end of it, and that's Peter Berg. So FYI, if you don't know who Peter Berg is, that's Peter Berg. So if you don't know, as I said at the beginning of this movie was absolutely hated by critics. 22% on Rotten Tomato. Now, as I said to you guys, if you haven't followed my movie reviews, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes. I really, really, really don't care, because all film is subjective. Like, for example, I can't remember what it was, but they gave Man of Steel a really pathetic score on Rotten Tomato. Most people didn't like it. I loved Man of Steel. So, and Batman vs Superman, that was another one that got 23% Rotten Tomato, and I did not agree with that at all. So, just letting you know, this got a really poor review on Rotten Tomato, but in my opinion, it's actually not that bad. Like, it isn't that bad. Oh, I'm so glad I remembered this. So I was just randomly flicking through. I don't even know how. Oh yeah. So I was at JB Hi-Fi, and I saw that Mile 22 was on special for like $15, and I was like, I don't want to buy it. I don't like buying movies. I don't like buying movies before I've watched them. I like to watch them and then buy them, and I've done that a couple of times and made the mistake. But anyway, so it was on my phone. I looked at iTunes. I'm like, I wonder if it's on iTunes yet. I looked on iTunes, and it was 99 cents to rent on iTunes. I was like, okay, perfect. Now, if I like it, I'll buy it. And I don't need to buy it. I really don't, because it's not that great. But I'm glad I watched it, because I didn't see it in the cinemas. Because as I said at the beginning of this review, the critics hated it. You know what I mean? Most of the reviewers that I saw thought it was abysmal. I get it, but it's not that bad. It really isn't. There's really annoying things in this movie, but the action sequences kind of make up for that in a way. But yeah, it's really hard. It's a weird balance. So at the end of this movie, there is a really good twist. Yes, I am being sarcastic. The twist at the end of this movie is so pathetically executed, it's ridiculous. And you're like to the point where you'll be like, what? All that? And then all of a sudden yeah. Terrible execution for a twist of a movie, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. Guys, that's the end of this movie review. I really appreciate your time, guys. If you do, please leave a like. If you have seen this movie, let me know what your thoughts in the comments below. I really appreciate that. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Take care. See you then.